We're back with another journal flip through. I have two journals here. They are very similar on the insides, but each one has some unique things that I've stuffed in, different postcards, different magazine pages, that sort of thing. But I really wanted to show you them together. There was a third that sold just a few hours after it went onto YouTube and Etsy. So I'm sorry I can't show you that one, but you can see the video if you look at my channel. These two came from the same piece of cross stitch that I bought in a frame in a thrift store. And when I took this out of the frame, this was the cardboard that was underneath. Look at how awesome that is. It was naturally sun-dyed, seeped through to the cardboard that was in the back. Look at how gorgeous that is. That's the rose that is in the other journal. So I'm gonna make journal covers out of this as well. Isn't that fantastic? So I just wanted to show you that because when it was like winning the lottery when I took it out of the frame. Anyways, let's start with this one. This is a cross stitch rose. This came from the 1940s, and I could tell that because there was also an advertisement underneath the cardboard that was huge, like a poster from the 1940s. I just found some embroidery thread that I thought matched the cross stitching, made a little tassel, and you can see that beautiful aged part of the cotton that was wrapped around this part here, and so was aged in a different way because it didn't have the protection of the glass. So I just added this is antique crochet up here, and then some newer lace just to make it pretty. On the inside here, I've got a tea-dyed page. I have 4 8.5 by 11 tea-dyed pages in here folded in half, and that's just to give you some extra sturdy journaling space. Here's a 1950s coupon from a recipe book, and that is attached to the Magic Garden, which is a wonderful antique book with its own imagery. This came from an early 1900s book on English gardens, and a heavy cardstock page, but beautifully aged. And one of my classic Pearl shop receipts from Cincinnati, a 1930s note sheet. And this is a wonderful little sketch from a vintage bird book on glossy paper. And this is the white-winged suitor. Kind of cool and beautiful. This is just a little pocket I made out of an antique book page. And it's got in here a little full-page spread from the Theater Arts magazine from the 1950s. Isn't that wonderful? And I just tucked that in the back there, and then a little poem here, The Children Know, and you can journal on the back of that one. So I try to use every little bit of space I can. That's not white space. This here is a lovely print from a book of Henri Rousseau's prints from 1956, who is a Parisian artist. Isn't that lovely? And more of those same pages on the flip side. I love this artist's palette here with the paintbrushes. I just added that lace there to make the cover pop and the inside more textury and fun. This is from a 1950s yearbook page. Look at those great images. Classic. And I made this lovely corner tuck spot here out of some very old music sheets, antique book. And then I put in a 1950s page here from a wonderful magazine. This one has all kinds of, look at that. It matches the cover, kind of. It's got some cross stitch pattern here and back here. Isn't that wonderful? So I thought that this should live with this particular book because it's got the cross stitch theme, and I thought that was really fun. And that's from the 1950s. 1920s ledger sheets, which are blank and just give you that extra bit of journaling space. Very old, but not too brittle, so it's wonderful. This little book excerpt, The Warm, Quiet Valley of Home. Isn't that lovely? And over here we have the Curves and Ives plate. This is plate number 33, and it is called The Harvest. Isn't that beautiful? And that's from 1902. I made a pocket here out of some extra tea-dyed paper, and up here I put in a antique book page. No, I didn't burn that, it came like that. But this is a beautiful poem from an Indigenous author, woman from the late 1800s. And it's a lovely poem, but you can also use it to journal on. Tuck that right back in there. More of the ledger paper. This is a really fun advertisement from a 1950s cookbook, Blue Ribbon Milk Buds. Some people call them rosebuds too. I know when we used to get those as kids. And some wonderful recipes on the back there for coffee, iced coffee and boiled coffee. 1945 dictionary page, and more of that wonderful Magna Carta yearbook page. And I just hand stamped some of these tea-dyed pages here. Look at this. This is one of my favorite things ever, is this 1950s bingo card. This is a really colorful one, and you'll notice that the numbers aren't your typical numbers because they're done by color. This was called a bingo color game, not your typical 1 to 72 game. And then these are little vintage playing cards. Look how sweet they are. Aren't they adorable? All right. Gateways to Bookland, which is a 1930s children book. A really sweet little image here of a boy climbing a mountain with his puppy. And this is a vintage doily here that I made into a pocket. And I stuffed in there a book from the early 1900s, book called The Emerald Isle, which is an Irish book of poems. Look at that gorgeous image. And lots of space to journal in the back there. You can tuck more things in here yourself. This is from a 1940s Theatre World magazine. Great, have fun reading those little advertisements, they're really fun. And this is from mid-century, How to Make an English Garden. It's just stunning full page spread print here, and I was very careful not to cover up the seam in the middle. And more of that wonderful Theatre World magazine. And then over here, I made a little tuck spot, and you'll all remember these. This is from the 1930s edition of Monopoly, one of the railroads, short line. And I made this out of all different antique book pages. And here's another antique book page that you can journal on because it's blank on one side. I collect those for that reason. Like this cute Halloween image here from a children's book as well. And I put in a little glassine envelope, a vintage one, and it's got some wonderful little vintage stamps in here from a few different countries. You can reuse those in your own junk journals or just happen to look at because they're beautiful. Another receipt, a vintage stamp of Queen Elizabeth, and another 1927, I believe, ledger page that is done with pen and inkwell. Antique book page tag, you can journal on the back of that. And here is a how to crochet insert from a crochet magazine that you might find fun. And this here is a very old postcard from British Columbia. I haven't been able to age it, but I believe it's from the 40s, 30s or 40s. And back here is another one of these wonderful Mary Maxim knitting magazines, or craft magazines. And I just think the colors of those are wonderful. And the old vintage sweaters with the poodles and the kittens playing a fiddle. Another one of these wonderful Indigenous poems. And it's not one of my journals unless you get the cheesy, full color recipe book spreads, cottage cheese and the fruit. Oh my goodness, it just cracks me up every time I see those. And here is a vintage atlas page, another 1926 journal page here. You'll have fun reading all of the supplies this person has expended. And that's it. I hope you love it. I don't think it'll last long, but please send me a note if I ever come across more of these. There are 3 more because this came in 2 sets of full size these. So I think after these 3, I will make 3 more, not anytime soon. Leave me a message below and please subscribe. Bye.